But experiment concerns external experience, also to be considered as internal experience with respect to which divine illumination is possible. Here, philosophy passes beyond experimental science to theology. Leaving behind its imperfect knowledge of created things, it turns towards its true end, which is knowledge of the Creator. Roger Bacon, from the Dictionary of Philosophy and Religion, William L. Rees, page 63. Philosophy, what we reason. We have religion, science, and philosophy to help us develop perceptions of what we are and why we exist. Why would we ever decide to throw any of the three out when they each have contributions to make? They each uniquely address the three means of perception we have available to us. We sense what appears to be through intuition, faith, religion. We see what appears to be through observation, measurement, science. We rationalize what appears to be through reason, logic, philosophy. One does not necessarily lead to another. What we sense may not be observable. What we see may not be logical. What we reason may not be sensible. We must not give up any one for another. Each is unique in their own way. Each has something special to offer. Each represents a special means by which we are able to understand ourselves and others. With religion, we use faith to tell us what we are, what the universe is, what a causative force is, and how the three are interrelated. An exercise of faith would be reliance on the guidance of sacred scriptures, for instance. With science, we use observations to tell us what we are, what the universe is, what the causative force is, or what religions have called God, and how the three are interrelated. With philosophy, we use reason to tell us what we are, what the universe is, what the causative force is, and how the three are interrelated. The order of development of each is not surprising. Religion deals with faith, our intuitive ability to sense what is even if we cannot see it or cannot find any logic to it. As such, religion would be the most difficult to prove through observation or logic. In order to remain strong and not be pushed aside, it would need to establish deep roots. History, culture, tradition, and custom would all need time to develop. And they have. They would be the means of identifying with this field, and they would provide the deep roots necessary to allow religion to survive the onslaughts of science and philosophy. What area would then be the second area to develop? It should be the second most difficult area to maintain: logic, reason. Philosophy began long before modern science established its foothold. Philosophy, using reason to understand what we are and why we exist, may seem to create a stronger foundation than faith, but it is also wrapped in abstraction rather than the material or the physical. Both needed a great deal of time to develop and establish a strong base. The third area, allowing us to understand what we are and why we exist, would be the easiest area to accept. And what area is so easy to understand that it took only 500 years to develop rather than 3,500 years religion took and the 2,500 years philosophy took? It would be the realm of what we can analyze through direct observation, the arena dominated by science. And with this work in mind, it's not describing what's been called scientism or imperialistic science, but rather an integration of the three. We are working on a puzzle. Because this is a puzzle being solved, the sequence of putting the pieces together may not always be the same, but the end result should be. Philosophy may not have evolved last, but since it deals with logic, we will use it last in order to put the religious portions of the puzzle together with the parts of the puzzle science provides. In other words, we will use logic, reason, philosophy to put the pieces together. Reason would imply that religion may be correct, God may indeed be all-present, omnipresent, relative to our spirit or to our universe, as was discussed in the religion portion of the Matrix. If this is correct, the universe would have no place to be but within the causative force. And what then of yourself? If you are in the universe, you must be in the causative force, a part of God, a piece of God, an emanation or an image of God, as the Bible teaches. Religion's insistence upon God being omnipresent is one of the pieces of the puzzle. Panentheism, the perception of size and location, was the first piece of the puzzle discussed in the Matrix. But the size of the causative force is only half the picture. The other half is why the causative force may need you. Thus develops another piece of the puzzle, symbiosis. It is science in this matrix that brings us the concept of the whole being the summation of its parts, or perhaps greater than the sum of the parts. Science also underscored the idea of the whole being less than what it should any of its parts be missing, and thus it is science that brought us the concept of the parts interacting with and impacting the whole. It was the science section of this matrix that discussed the concept of symbiosis. Combine religion, a perception of abstraction, a perception of size of a causative force, panentheism with science, a perception of the physical, a perception of interactions, symbiosis, and one gets symbiotic panentheism. One can put the two, religion and science, side by side, but they will quickly fall apart once the pressure which keeps them together is removed.